Well, good morning. My name's Joe Lynch. I'd like to thank Hand in Hand for having me here today, and I'd like to thank all of you for letting me be here. It's an honor to be able to give something back to Hand in Hand after all they've done for me. In a few minutes, I have the privilege of introducing to you a member of Seneca High School's Red Hawk Rangers. She represents a group of youth who really made an impression on me on our recent trip to Oxford. Their intuitive compassion has inspired me to speak to you today. But first, let me tell you about my experience with Hand in Hand. You see, I know how you feel out there. I've been in your seats. 7 years ago, I was invited to the same breakfast. I suffered the early morning alarm for the promise of a free meal. I could never have imagined then what Hand in Hand would do for me, where it would take me, who I would meet, or who I would become because of it. Since that breakfast, I got roped into unloading trucks for the Gift in Kind program here in town. I still can never say no to Libby. It was nice to be involved, so when a chance to go to Nicaragua presented itself, I jumped at the opportunity. Those who know me know that I'm always looking for my next fun-filled adventure. I wanted to travel, but not just sit on a beach and read. I wanted to do something. I wanted to meet the people, sample the native cultures. Hand in Hand offered me exactly what I was looking for. Nicaragua was amazing. Ed and Barbara led us through a saturation of sights and experiences. Not only did we build a house as promised, we watched the sunset from the top of a volcano. I got to haggle for Cuban cigars in the local market. We ate Cajones del Toro, and Marla taught me to surf, kind of. I made lifelong friends on that trip, some of whom are here today. But those are just images of a fun vacation. What left a lasting impression on me and on my heart was the children I met. Even through a language barrier, communication is universal through smiles, and bubbles, and kazoos. Building a house together was just the setting. The true ministry is in building relationships. What I brought back from Nicaragua was a clear image of those in need. No longer was poverty some abstract thing I would see on TV. I know their names, and I can see their faces. And I know that Esmelda still remembers us in her daily prayers. Coming back to the real world took a little adjustment. My perspective had changed. My eyes were open to global problems that mirrored ones right here. I struggled. I wondered if it did any good. Sure, we helped one starfish, but as the poem goes, there's a whole beach full of others. I wanted to do more. My fire was lit. It was a desire I couldn't really pinpoint. I had a hard time articulating. So for the second time, Hand in Hand Ministries recognized something in me and answered my needs. They offered me a job when I needed regular work. So for the next summer, I was in Eastern Kentucky at the Oxford Center as a site leader, meeting interesting people, practicing my craftsman skills, and gaining a deeper respect for the ministry. They worked me hard in Oxford, but they fed me well. As I began there, I focused on the job in front of me, thinking that building a ramp or fixing a roof would solve every problem. But it's a scam. It's a simple bait and switch tactic. If you've been on an immersion trip, you know what I'm talking about. It's not about the roof or the drywall, although those things are important. It's about building relationships, setting foundations of dignity and hope, and supporting each other through tough times. It may start out as just a job, or an adventure, or a fun way to spend vacation days, but it changes you. It did me. Then the opportunity came around that I get to go to Belize. I tried in vain a couple times to get my family to go with me, but as my father says, some give by going, and some go by giving. You see, it takes both kinds to get the job done. I could not have gone to Belize or Nicaragua had it not been for the generosity of my friends and family and all the support of the Hand in Hand staff. On this trip to Belize, we were to build a home for a 72-year-old woman who suffered mobility problems due to osteoporosis. Yet another opportunity came along to challenge my comfort zone when I got to be the one to smuggle a wheelchair out of the country by riding it through customs. Let me tell you, the novelty wore off on that pretty quick as Kevin pushed me around 3 different airports. But it's all worth it to see Miss Kemp so happy, wheeling around her brand new home. She could do nothing but watch, but her sons dove in, and we built that home in record time. I was actually a little disappointed when the build was over. I would rather have spent more time with them than go snorkeling in the Keys, but our job was done, and the place was hers now. I can still remember what Abel said that night after the house blessing. He said to let it change you. He said to let it fester inside you and bring it back home with you. He told us that not right away, but after the trip had a chance to settle, it reveals something in you. And that's exactly what Hand in Hand Ministries has done for me. Hand in Hand is an incubator. It's not that it changed me in some dramatic way, but it offered a proving ground that develops compassion. It's no secret how they do it. It's about building relationships. So again, my perspective had changed. Now I know that I'm not just helping them by showing my support. Relationship building is a two-way street. We don't just go to give. It's not just a good deed that makes us feel better. We can really benefit. We can really learn from one another. Things like compassion, patience, perseverance, humor, and humility. I've met people thriving in conditions that I could admit would simply have broken me. And to think I was naive enough to believe that I was the one going to rescue them. When I got a chance to work alongside the Seneca Scholars, I see that perspective in them. On our recent trip to Oxford, I was astonished to learn that what's taken me 3 countries and 7 years to figure out, they were already doing. So after meeting these fine young men and women, I'm committed to their development and to Hand in Hand's mentoring program, not because I think I have something to teach them, but I want to join forces with them so that together we can make the world just a little bit better.